Hi, everyone. Welcome to the GoldFish Report. I'm your host, Louisa. This is Sunday afternoon, April 7th, 2019, and this is our POTUS press briefs for April 5th, 6th, and 7th. There really wasn't anything today. The president's been out playing golf today, which is good. Give him a nice day off. It's springtime. And so, as usual, these are just the press briefs, the statements and comments, quotes that's reported from the press pool if there's really anything significant. And so I'm going to screen share this on our blog so you can take a look. We have on Saturday, April 6th, we have the president announces key individuals to his post, to certain posts. So this one is Morris Tan of Illinois to be the ambassador at large for global criminal justice. This is really great because we definitely, the president, and we're going to see this in the next few, the pictures, the photos of the week, actually, when we get to that, it'll show, how the president is handling this whole criminal justice reform, which is really wonderful. I mean, people make mistakes, they go to prison, and they still need to have an opportunity. But there really should be a deterrent. It's just that they can never really, the recidivism rate is so high that there was really no way to give them a second chance. So don't commit the crime. If you don't want to do the time, don't commit the crime, right? Isn't that what they say? But life's not that simple. Okay, whatever. And so people make mistakes, and right, they shouldn't pay the rest of their life. So it's nice that the president recognizes that the system just wasn't working and it wasn't fair. Here we have West Wing reads, we have hiring speeds up as U.S. economy adds 196,000 jobs in March, which is ahead of the expectations, I think, of what was it, 180,000? It was lower. It was much lower than this. So it was definitely ahead of what the expectation, what they were projecting. There's okay, again, there's more information here about the collusion. We're not going to be done hearing about this for quite a while, folks. It's going to unfold to be the greatest, treasonous act in our history, at least that's been exposed. And it is going to be quite significant. And what's interesting is that the Democrats are falling right into the traps they set for themselves. Calling out for the release of the Mueller investigation, the Mueller report. And I have a feeling they're not going to like what they find. And it's not going to have anything to do with President Trump. It's going to have a lot to do with the people they thought were their pals on the inside. It's about control, people, people who are obsessed with and in love with money and power and control. They have a lust for it, and they are blinded by reason. They are blinded, from reason and from justice, maybe, and of course better judgment, and of course ignorant of the fact that there's karma. And I think this is what's going to be playing out. So it's going to be interesting tomorrow. We're going to be doing a POTUS report with Jim Fetzer, and we're going to be talking all about this karma. And let's move on. We have here remarks by the president before boarding on Marine One. These kinds of things are usually kind of long. He's talking about different things. He always talks about, he takes different questions from different members of the press that stand there. Although, unless you're recording the whole thing, which is what I was doing when I was there, I was live streaming the whole thing when I could. He takes questions from many different people, so it's never only on one topic. But so anyway, so here there's, new nominations for the ICE director. And you can go through here and take a look at this. They're talking about Joe Biden. Joe Biden is no threat at all. The president says, no, I don't see Joe Biden as a threat. No, I don't see him as a threat. I think he's only a threat to himself. So, I'm going to leave it there. If you want to read more about what the president said, you could definitely go over there and take a look at it. Here we have this press release here. An overwhelming surge in illegal immigration is worsening the crisis at the border. I think everybody's becoming, so they're talking about the specific problems here. The apprehensions increased by 38%. Total enforcement actions were 516% higher in March. So, you know, like, how many people do we have at the border handling this? Not that many. And I think what the president is talking about today, what he's been talking about yesterday, is that we're at full capacity. We cannot process any more people. Don't come in. Turn around and go back. That's what he's saying. He wants the government of Mexico to send the people back before they get to the border to their countries, or better yet, if they're from Mexico, to keep them in their country. You know, it's you know, not the countries have to be making some effort. This is what the president's saying, and you know that he's, you know, had a hard line, made a hard line with Mexico and these other countries, Central American countries, that they're going to have funding cut if they don't get control of this problem. So, because it's their problem, now it's going to become our problem. If they don't have economic opportunities in their country, that's not a reason to, you know, be granted asylum. They have to work within their government. They have to make changes. They have to try to get those changes made from within. You know, we can't solve everybody's problem. Okay, so here we have a proclamation for National Volunteers Week, which is really great. Lots of people talking about different ways you can help out in your community, kindness, and building a better future together. We have to heal from these crimes of these bad, you know, eggs, these bad elements that were within the government. Let's call it the deep state for ease of conversation. um, and it's time to purge the government of the treasonous, of the traitors. Okay, and I think that's what President Trump is doing, and we're going to be seeing a lot of this. Of course, there's also reports today that there's been 8 nominations. Nunes has sent 8 recommendations to for criminal investigations regarding the Mueller investigation. Folks, it's really going to come down, and I hope you're all ready for this, because, you know, it's not like it's anything new that we've been talking about here on the GoldFish Report, but it's going to be new to a lot of other people. That, you know, this, the idea of the treason, the idea of the collusion, the idea of how many people at such top levels, I mean, all the way up to the top, were all corrupted, and they all work together to basically, as traitors, to commit treason against our country. And folks, we can never let this happen again. This is what the president talks about. So here we have really other good news. Is a statement from the press secretary regarding the administration's trade talks with China. So we know that United States Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer and Secretary of Treasury Steve Mnuchin welcomed the Chinese Vice Premier again, Liu He, and a Chinese delegation for negotiations on trade from April 3rd to April 5th. So the subjects of the negotiations included intellectual property, forced technology transfer, non-tariff barriers, agriculture, services, purchases, and enforcement. So this was really productive, they said, and there were definitely some more work that remains to be done, but I think they were very happy, and they had resolved some of the issues. So the trade talks with China are going very well. Here we have another proclamation from the president, National Crime Victims' Rights Week, and you can go here and take a look at this. There's still many crimes being committed against Americans every year. These crimes affect the physical, mental, financial, and emotional well-being of victims, causing loss from which they may never fully recover. And let me tell you about that, folks, and I'm going to talk about this tomorrow in my opening statement on the POTUS report regarding how there have also been criminal elements within our judicial system who has done the very same thing, and it has abused people, litigants who come into divorcing situations and absolutely exploit them to extort their assets from them. And you don't have a chance in hell, really, to bring justice to that situation. And that's actually a fight that I'm in a battle with right now, has to do with First Amendment free speech. And let me tell you, folks, when it comes to constitutional rights, anybody's constitutional argument is everybody's, because it's that fundamental. and this has been, we've talked about it. I've talked about it in my bullet points presentations, how fundamental our constitutional rights are, and that they are automatic irreparable harm, based on Elrod versus Burns landmark case in the Supreme Court 1976, that established that irreparable harm, automatic irreparable harm, even if only for a moment, because that's how fundamental our constitutional rights are. If we are deprived of our constitutional rights, right to due process, right to freedom of the speech. In the last bullet points presentation I did, we went over lots of limitations of the First Amendment in terms of, the time, the place, location, things like that, the content of speech, and some speech that's just completely barred. So, you have, and when speech isn't just limited to the verbal word, it's symbolic, and it's, there's other forms of freedom of expression. So not only speech, but freedom of expression. So it could be like symbolically, like I'm saying. So like people like burning the flag, things like that, that's a symbolic, it is a freedom of speech. It's an expression of that freedom of speech, although I don't think we should be doing that, but it's the Constitution says it's your right to do that, as a First Amendment right. So folks, this is what I'm saying here. They're talking about National Crime Victims Week. I'm probably talking about criminals have to be accountable for the abuse that they inflict on others and for the trauma that they cause our communities. And even if it's by the government, if the government's committing crimes, they need to be held accountable. But that goes so slow. We see that folding out. We see that unfolding right before our eyes with what's happened with this fake Russian dossier. This is going to be huge. When you realize that this came right from President Obama, this is where it all leads. It came right from a president. This is going to surprise a lot of people. So I hope you get ready for this. So take a look at the blog for this proclamation, and we'll take a look at that. This was remarks by the president regarding after touring the border wall. We had a news conference that was televised. They talked about the stories of people who are being, smuggling children in these ravines, underwater, under these fences, and lots of very dangerous situations, people being killed. It's really a terrible thing. The president had a roundtable regarding this. So he had the roundtable. Here's another press release. This is very long, just so you know in advance. If you're going to go to the blog and look at this one, the roundtable is very long, but it's got a lot of detail about that meeting, that roundtable meeting. Here's our photos of the week. It's a little off skewed on the blog page for some reason, I don't know, but it's very nice to see the photos of the week and share them with you all. There's the president, very happy. This is what I was referring to earlier. This is the president congratulating former inmates who have benefited from the passage of the First Step Act, prison reform. And it's really great. They look pretty happy to me. That's pretty good. Here you have Schiff saying that President Trump, they want his tax returns, they want all this, they want to find anything. I mean, this is about hatred. We know where this rush of racism came from, this rush of hatred came from. And it came from the Democratic Party themselves. This is who's been pushing the social engineering this and pushing this on society. We were so peaceful. Everything was so wonderful a couple of years ago. And the next thing you know, we had Charlottesville, we had Las Vegas, we had Florida, we had all these other things start happening to push race. And it's just because the Mockingbird media, Operation Mockingbird, they're all controlled by Serco, CIA, by the British, by, whatever. It's all fake, folks. It's all fake. Look, fake news. See, I got my t-shirt on. It's fake news, folks. But not here on the GoldFish Report. It's not fake here. We're as real as we can be. Okay, so here we have, okay, now we have the vice president here. Okay, with these former inmates as well. So they have, very nice. They look very happy. They look like they're very happy to be there, and probably so shocked, life-changing, really, for people. So it's really great to see that. Here we have President Trump meeting with NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg in the Oval Office. I think that, they were talking about, I think that they have strengthened their relationship, but he doesn't look very happy. I don't know. He looks a little bit, that might be just how he normally is. I don't know. I haven't, looked at many pictures of him recently, but he looks a little concerned, if you want my opinion. Okay, so here we have Vice President Mike Pence praying with the Citgo executives and their families prior to the meeting in the Eisenhower Executive Office building, which is right next to the White House. Okay, and we have a lovely picture of the blue lights illuminates the north portico of the White House for World Autism Awareness Day, which was really lovely. And what's funny is this second floor here, we have that one room with the light on, and that's the one that overlooks the press briefing room, which I've been in and reporting from. And it's funny that light would be on, that room would be on, and who knows who's in there and what they're doing, because it really is a perfect shot. It's a really, really nice picture. And it's nice that they are recognizing people with on the autism spectrum, and there are many. I'll tell you, there are very many. It's definitely touched my life in a very personal way, and which I will not talk about, but I'm glad that they're acknowledging that. Here is a photo of the Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer and Secretary of Treasury Stephen Mnuchin, along with the Chinese Vice Premier Liu He, Wednesday during trade discussions. And, they're there. They've got their pads out, their books out, they're working, they're making progress. And, I think it's great to see that the Chinese have come here, that there's a Chinese delegation here, and they're working diligently to move forward. It's interesting that Stephen Mnuchin would be there because he's the head of the Treasury, right? So what's going on here? Trade, it's all Treasury. So in one hand, there's tariffs that get paid directly to the Treasury Department, right? The tariffs. So of course, Stephen Mnuchin would be present for that. Because you'd be wondering, well, why would Stephen Mnuchin be present at a trade talk? But because it seems like Robert Lighthizer probably would be completely competent and able to handle those meetings himself. But it was very interesting to see Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin there. So who knows? There's a lot going on. I mean, that we don't know about yet, but I think we'll find out about soon. So here we have very interesting photo, folks, of the president and the vice president joined by senior military leadership, seen in prayer at the start of dinner in the state dining room of the White House. This was Wednesday, April 3rd. Trump was meeting with all the top military brass. Interesting, having dinner. Very, very interesting. Some of them don't look comfortable doing the prayer. If you really look at them, some of them are natural at it and others not so natural. But it's nice to see the president there with all the top military people, and there's pretty major things going on, and I'm hoping that they have had some successful dialogue, successful talks about all of that. Foreign policy, domestic policy with the military, and whatever else we're involved in. Okay, so we have Mike Pence, Vice President Mike Pence delivering remarks at NATO. We have President Trump joined by former NFL player Scott Turner, who attends White House Opportunity and Revitalization Council meeting with members of his cabinet. So that's interesting. See what that's all about. Here we have the president in the Oval Office shaking hands with Vice Premier Liu He in the Oval Office. So that's really good news. And of course, the vice premier looks quite happy, very happy, in fact. And so does President Trump, who always extends his hand out. You notice that he always puts his arm on people, like it's very sincere gesture. And he is a very sincere man. And in my opinion, not that anyone asked, but in my opinion, President Trump is a man of principle. He lives by his principles, and he leads by his principles, and his focus is and I actually tweeted this today. His focus is sharper than the eye of an eagle. I mean, that's kind of how I look at it. He's so focused on determination, on success, on succeeding, and progress. It's that sharp, his focus, and so that's that's what I have noticed and observed firsthand. Okay, so the United States Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer Heiser greets Chinese Vice Premier here, and so that's a very nice photo, although they could be smiling. It would be nice, but you know, some serious trade talks, I guess. Here we have Vice President Mike Pence speaks with local farmers during a tour of the Lamb Farm Inc. Thursday. So they're talking with farmers. I know farmers have an interesting place in our country, and they need to be, you know, have some special attention because they're feeding all of America. Okay, so here we have President Trump is greeted by state representatives and military personnel at the tarmac at the Naval Air Facility El Centro, California, on his way to visit the border in Calexico, California. And here's a photo of that press conference. And I think that someone was given an award. I think they were giving, who were they giving the award to? So Gloria Chavez here is one of the border agents in Custom Border Protection. So this was part of that meeting, and here's President Trump at the border, having that, you know, shaking hands and meeting with people there as well during that. And then here's Second Lady Karen Pence participates in a simulation inside Orion capsule Friday. I usually don't go through all of these in detail, but the photos are such a pleasure. Let me just scroll back up so I can click on the last link. That's just a great picture. Look at that. Trump and, I know, is that Q? Is Q the team there? Who's Q? QAnon. And then we have one more for today. This is the Resolute Reads, and this all again has to do with the job numbers that came out. Again, the border crisis. Trump just wants people to go back because we can't handle processing anymore. See, smugglers push children through barbed wire barrier. That's horrible, horrible. Cutting those kids up like, you know, this is not fair. Using kids as pawns, that should be a special kind of crime. That's what I think. And I hope that they're going to recognize that. Crimes against children. This is really, you know, especially from, you know, well, I'll just keep going. So collusion, delusion. Oh yeah, it's amazing that Adam Schiff is still beating this drum. I mean, he's still beating. There's still collusion. There's still collusion. There's still evidence of collusion. It's like real. I don't understand what's wrong with the man. There's no evidence of collusion, and you know, release that report already, and we'll, you know, find out. So just amazing. So here, you know, we have just some other news. The man accused of murdering New Jersey nanny was twice deported illegal immigrant from Honduras. So. You know, this is what happens, folks. We need to we really need to get in control of what's going on at the border because, you know, we don't need the crime coming into our country. We know that MS-13 gangs are, you know, coming in from the border as well. And just remember, folks, in the GoldFish report, okay, we are not fake news. This is real news here, okay? So I just had to show my fake news t-shirt that I bought in the Phoenix airport. Okay, so that's it for tonight. We're going to be back tomorrow with POTUS report with Jim Fetzer, doing our whole week in review. And as you know, we just do these POTUS briefs to share these press statements that come from the White House, because they don't all make it on the news at the same time. So I like to present them all at once. So everybody, if you're looking just for what the president's doing, this is where you're going to find it. So you can also follow us on Twitter. You can go to us on Facebook at the 24/7 news page we have there at the GoldFish Report. And of course, folks, you can always go to our website at thegoldfishreport.com and help support us by making a contribution. You can help support us by going to Vimeo. Click on our bullet points presentation, and to see the second half of that presentation. It's on Vimeo on demand, and it helps to keep this report going. So I'm glad that I hope everyone had a great weekend. I'm happy that you're joining us. Please share this, subscribe, like us on Facebook. do all the good things that you do. Keep Goldfish Report going, and we'll keep being here for you. This is a viewer-supported social media research channel, so we can't do it without your support. And we thank everybody who has supported us in all the different ways, who send us links, who send us reports, who are monitors on our pages, who do all the great things. It's all, Goldfish Report belongs to everybody. So I'm really happy to see that people really are reaching out in different ways to help Goldfish Report and get it out there, because it's just for you. It's for the people. So have a great weekend. We'll see you tomorrow. And this concludes this edition of the Goldfish Report.